She would never just go off and leave Kevin, never at all. Never.
And were you and the rest of the family close?
Very close. Like I say, she saw us every day.
For 20 months, the police have been looking in the wrong direction, and I would like them now to reopen this case and start looking in the right direction.
What do you think of the murderer?
Well, I haven't got words that could express that person.
You're watching Totally True Crime. Julie Hogg was a striking woman with thick dark hair, immaculate makeup and a wide smile that lit up half of her face. In 1989, Julie was a single mother to her 3-year-old son, Kevin. She worked as a pizza delivery girl in her hometown of Billingham, just outside of Stockton-on-Tees. Julie's mother, Anne, adored her grandson and would often look after him when Julie was working or on a night out. On the 16th of November 1989, Julie went missing. She was last seen going into her house at 1:30 a.m. in the morning by one of her colleagues who had dropped her off home. She had entered the house with her keys. Her mother couldn't get a hold of her the next day. The door had been locked and the curtains were drawn, and nothing looked out of place, other than that nobody had seen or heard from Julie. Her mother told the police that she doted on her son and she would never leave him voluntarily. Christmas was coming up and there was no way Julie would have left her son. So Anne and her grandson Kevin made this appeal on national television.
She would never just go off and leave Kevin, never at all. Never.
And were you and the rest of the family close?
Very close. Like I say, she saw us every day.
In this appeal, Anne has tears streaming down her face as she cuddles 3-year-old Kevin, who's desperately missing his mummy. 29 police officers searched Julie's house. They took video footage of the inside and outside and examined it for clues back at the station, but they couldn't find anything out of place. It was like she had literally vanished into thin air. Months went past with no sign of Julie, and Anne continued to look after her grandson. After 3 months, Anne was given the keys back to Julie's house. Anne and her husband went back inside Julie's home. It was freezing, so they put on the central heating, and a short while later, a putrid smell started coming from the bathroom. Anne climbed the stairs to find out where the smell was coming from. She could smell something coming from the bath, so she leaned over, and as she did, her knees buckled against the bath panel, which moved as she leant. When the bath panel moved, the smell intensified. She got a screwdriver and then saw something that no mother should ever have to see. The decomposing body of her daughter underneath the bath. Her body had been mutilated and wrapped in a blanket. Anne described finding her daughter's body as verging on the indescribable. This was now a Category A murder investigation. The police started talking to local informants, and it led them to a group of rugby fans called the Crazy Gang. They were known for their rowdy behaviour. Each of the men were interviewed, and statements and alibis were checked. But there was one man who didn't have an alibi. His name was William Dunlop. He was known as Billie. He was a labourer from Stockton-on-Tees. He was in his 20s and he'd known Julie for some time. They had a brief relationship, and on the night Julie was murdered, Billie had been involved in a fight at the local rugby club. He'd needed hospital treatment after he received an injury to his eye. After this time, he had no alibi. His landlord said that his bed had not been slept in that night. Meanwhile, the crime scene investigators swept Julie's house from top to bottom in a desperate attempt to find clues. It was mad that 29 police officers had previously been in the house and not discovered Julie under the bath. The blanket Julie had been wrapped in was tested, and fibres were found that matched the football shirts from the local football club. Billie and his friends also belonged to this football club. But semen was also found on the blanket, and that was linked directly back to Billie Dunlop. Now, you might be thinking this is slam dunk for a conviction, but not quite. Detective Sergeant John Matthews is given the task to arrest him and interview him. Billie denies knowing anything about Julie's murder. In the meantime, the search team are going through Billie's house. They were thorough, and they made the decision to lift the floorboards. It was there that they found Julie's keys to her house, and they had his fingerprints on them. Why did he have Julie's keys? And why were they hidden in such a drastic manner underneath the floorboards? The police discovered that there had been a strip show at the rugby club on the night Julie went missing, and they had to consider that Billie had been sexually frustrated after the show, and that could have been a motive for him wanting to see Julie that night. The pathologist had determined that Julie had been strangled to death, and she had also been subjected to a violent sexual assault. The Crown Prosecution Service charged Billie Dunlop with Julie Hogg's murder, and they set a trial for May 1991. And Julie's mother was going to have to be called as a witness because she'd been the one to discover her daughter's body. During the trial, the defence team tried to paint Julie to be a promiscuous woman, and Billie's father took the stand and said that his son wouldn't strangle a woman to death. If anything, he said he would have used his fists. The jury retired to consider their verdict, but they could not decide whether Billie was innocent or guilty, so the judge ordered a retrial. But during the second trial, the new jury had the same problem. They too couldn't reach a verdict, so the judge had to let Billie Dunlop go. He was a free man, and Anne couldn't believe it. Because of an 800-year-old law known as the double jeopardy law, it prevents someone from being retried for the same crime twice, even if new evidence came to light, proving that the accused did commit the crime. Billie walked out of court that day, assured that he was a free man. Billie even went on the local news and gave his first interview.
20 months the police have been looking in the wrong direction, and I would like them now to reopen this case and start looking in the right direction.
What do you think of the murderer?
Well, I haven't got words that could express that person. But what I would like to say is I'd like to thank everybody who stood by me through this 20 months of hell.
Anne and the rest of Julie's family were left numb. They'd sat through 2 trials, and still nobody had been held accountable for taking her life. Anne's gut instinct told her that Billie was the person who killed her daughter, and she decided right then to fight. The police were also convinced that they had the right person, but something else had happened that turned everything upside down. The body of another young woman was found, just minutes away from Julie's house, and the last person known to see this young woman alive was Billie Dunlop. 2 young boys had come across a skull in a field in Billingham, and the body was identified to be that of an 18-year-old girl called Tina Bell. Tina was a much-loved girl with a family who adored her, and on the 2nd of June 1989, Tina had been camping out in the garden with her younger brother. Her friend had called for her at 8:20 p.m, and Tina told her brother and her parents that she was going to be going out to get some sweets from the local shop. She promised to be home by 10:30, and that was the last time her family ever saw her. Her body was found in 1990, 10 months before Billie Dunlop walked free from court. Investigators were given some information that some of the crazy gang were with Tina the night she went missing, and one of those men was Billie Dunlop. He was brought in for questioning, but the police had no way to gather enough evidence to charge Billie with any crimes relating to Tina, and he was let go. Locals informed the police and Anne that Billie had been bragging around town, telling people he'd got away with the perfect murder, referring to Julie. But the police weren't able to question him further because of the double jeopardy law. The police felt this wasn't the last they were going to hear of Billie Dunlop, and they were right. In 1997, Billie attacked his ex-girlfriend and her new partner in their flat. He'd broken into the flat and attacked both of them with a baseball bat. The injuries sustained by her new boyfriend, a man called Sean Fairweather, was so bad, and he was hit so hard that the bat broke and every bone in his face was broken. He needed intensive surgery, and both of them were lucky to be alive. Billie pled guilty to grievous bodily harm and was sentenced to just 7 years in prison. Whilst he was in prison, he began bragging about Julie Hogg's murder and how he got away with it. The police still had no other suspects for either Julie or Tina Bell's murders, and they wanted to do everything they could to try to keep him off the streets. So they set up an undercover operation in the prison, and a prison officer agreed to wear a wire and talk to him in his cell, with the aim to get him to confess on record. And he did. Detective Dave Duffy brings Billie into an interview room and confronts him with the undercover footage and asked him if he killed Julie Hogg. And to his surprise, he admitted it. Billie was convinced that the double jeopardy law would protect him, and he admitted that he lied during both of his trials and that he was the man who murdered Julie. Not only that, but he also told the detective why. He said that he'd wanted a chat. He'd walked past Julie's house and seen her lights were on, but then when he went inside, Julie had mocked him, and that he snapped because he'd been drinking and killed her. What Billie didn't realise is that the police could charge him with perjury, and that's what they did. Billie was sentenced to another 6 years in prison. When the police told Anne that he admitted to killing her daughter, she decided now that she had to fight for her all the way to the end. She started a campaign to change the double jeopardy law. She wrote to the Home Secretary, Jack Straw, and she was invited to Westminster. Over the next few years, she was put in front of ministers, senior police officers and lawmakers, and she fought to change the double jeopardy law. And in 2005, Anne Ming got the news that she so desperately wanted to hear. And Cleveland police were thrilled that they could now build a case again against Billie Dunlop. A mother from the north of England had fought an 800-year-old law, a law that was formed during the Magna Carta, and they had won. Billie Dunlop would now be tried for a third time for Julie Hogg's murder. The police put together another case for trial to try and convict him of a murder that he'd already been cleared of twice. But this time, they had Billie Dunlop's confession. The trial was held at the Old Bailey, and news crews from all over the country came to witness this historical murder trial. Billie Dunlop didn't look at Anne Ming in court, but he did confess to killing Julie Hogg. The judge sentenced Billie to a life sentence with a minimum tariff of 17 years. In 2017, Billie Dunlop was charged with sex offences against children. 2 girls who were under the age of 16 in the mid-80s said that Billie had raped one of them and forced himself on another one of them. He was charged with 3 counts of rape and 2 charges of indecent assault. The girls had come forward after being too afraid to tell their parents when it happened. He was taken to court but found not guilty of the offences. He told the court, quote, "I have been a violent man through my life, but I don't molest children." But the fight for Anne Ming sadly continues. In 2020, Billie Dunlop applied to be moved to an open prison. Anne had to fight to keep him behind bars. She was successful, and Billie was kept in a secure prison. Every year, Billie comes up for parole, and every year, Anne Ming fights to keep him behind bars. In 2007, Anne Ming received an MBE alongside her husband Charlie at Buckingham Palace. She told the press that she didn't expect to get an award and that it wasn't a happy occasion for her, because she would rather have her daughter with her. Thank you for watching. If you found this video interesting, please subscribe for more weekly true crime videos like this. You've been watching Totally True Crime.